So before we look for anything different than this moment, before we look to change anything, one of the rules of thumb in the world of spirituality is to land in the midst of this moment. And the great masters have always told us that right smack dab in the middle of any moment, we find everything that we could possibly want and more. And so to leave behind that seeker that is looking to change things or looking to make things different, looking to find a different version of yourself. And to just do a little experiment here tonight. What if I just showed up exactly as I am and let go of any effort to hide certain parts or to be different? So if you've landed here a little bit tired tonight, that's perfectly fine. If you are feeling open and positive, beautiful. If you are feeling maybe resistance or challenge, that's beautiful too. So I always say, come as you are and be as you are. Last week we had explored how to mine the possibilities that are found within addictive behaviors. And the process essentially is to come into this moment and to include everything that shows up in this moment. So let's start with that this evening. You're in a certain environment in your home, and maybe there are sounds and distractions. Maybe you could make your body a little more comfortable, and feel free to do that. Notice how your body is landing in your chair and make any adjustments that you need to. Many of us could stand to lean back a little bit in our seat and allow the ears to align over the shoulders and the shoulders to align over the hips. But these adjustments happen naturally once we start bringing attention to our bodies. So feeling the space all around you in your home. Below you, the solidity of the earth. Above you, the vastness of the sky. All around, space that goes on forever. And as the body stills, the breath becomes more obvious. So notice how your breath has landed this evening. And see if you can bring a beginner's mind. Some of us have gone through this process many times, and the mind can fool us into thinking that it knows what we'll find. But actually, each moment is brand new. Each breath is brand new. And when we bring awareness to a certain part of our experience, there's this natural tendency for the system to open us up to more and more detail. So at first, when you come into your breath, you notice the obvious inhale and exhale, and maybe some of the grosser sensations related to that. But as you stay with it, you will begin to also notice subtler details. Some might be comfortable, some not so much, but we let go of judging, and it's really just about allowing everything that we notice to be just exactly as it is. So that all of the energy that is invested in changing things and fixing things and finding solutions can rest, can just rest. And you may begin to notice subtle changes happening in the breath cycle as you settle, as you land, as you open. And then you'll naturally begin to notice more sensations in your body. So this is how we mine, we're going deeper. So we go from the kind of the gross sensations of the constant breath to the next level, which is the various sensations that we notice in our body. So we're going deeper into the earth, so to speak, the earth of our body. And we just open to whatever we notice, the areas that feel quite relaxed, the areas where we become aware that we're holding tension, the areas that are warm, the areas that are cold, the areas that feel numb, the areas that feel alive, the areas that feel fluid and not so fluid, maybe stuck. But we do our best not to add any kind of interpretation on what it is that we're noticing. We're just open, available, letting go of adding anything. And then we naturally get led deeper into the subtler sensations, those that we might relate to feelings and emotions and energy even. Oftentimes we'll find these down the center line of the body, which is where the main 7 energy centers that process all of the energy in our system eventually ends up there. And so maybe you're noticing some sensations in those centers. And if you don't know where they are, it doesn't matter. Essentially, down the center line of the body is where it's kind of a hub of energy integration and processing and digesting. And we sometimes feel that as swirling in the solar plexus or the heart or the throat, warmth, tingling, pressure. And it's all good. It's all just a sign that the system is working for us, following its own intelligence. And we may notice thoughts that come in. Maybe thoughts that have nothing to do with what is happening right here, right now. Maybe interpretations, and we can let those just be as they are as well. So we never try to stop the mind. We just let it be, and we exercise our option to not entertain it. Just let those thoughts float by like clouds. And the more that we go through the layers of our being in this way, the more likely that we have greater access to a sense of presence. We begin to notice that there's something here that's just here. It's just open. That isn't moving and changing like the details. It's the one constant from one moment to the next. The vast open space through which all of the details of our lives have been streaming from the beginning of our time here. So the presence that is noticing details now is the same presence that was gazing out from behind your newborn eyes. It doesn't change with time, as your thoughts change, as your body changes, as your emotions change, as your beliefs change. All of these things, of course, are constantly shifting. But presence is just open. It's a pure, radiant, spacious beingness. It does not have the capacity to argue with reality. It is reality. By reality, I mean just what's here now. And so once we get a sense of presence, sometimes the mind can sort of make light of it. Okay, that's nice. What's next? How is this going to help me? The mind can get impatient with presence, but do your best to not get bored with it, to really allow the presence to take you in deeper and to begin to sense the qualities that are accompanying presence. So when you're just present with what is, and there's less micromanaging of the details, oftentimes we begin to come into contact with a sense of well-being that perhaps wasn't as available before. A sense of peace, even in spite of circumstances that might be challenging in our lives right now. A sense of all is well. And it may not pervade everything. There may still be that kind of distant worry or whatever is going on, but it begins to be kind of a stronger flavor in this moment. And so you want to orient towards that, because the more that we do that, the more that we allow ourselves to really experience presence and soak in presence, the more that it can nourish us, but also the stronger it gets and the more available it becomes in our day-to-day lives. So just to make it a little bit more palpable for you, as presence becomes more online, comes more into the foreground, generally your body will begin to feel more grounded, more settled. You'll feel more here, less kind of top heavy in the head, so that you're filling up your body with more of your being. So that's a good clue. The other thing you'll notice as presence becomes more dominant in the experience is a sense that the edges of your body are not quite as distinct. And sometimes we even begin to feel quite a bit larger than our bodies, because presence is larger than your physical body. The heart might feel a little more soft, a little less guarded, more open. Great. So just continue to orient towards that. And what I'd like you to do is to call to mind any addictive behavior that you were aware of this week, something that you were doing that was clearly an avoidance tactic, something that you were aware of that you were doing to distract yourself. So just call that to mind. And maybe you'll remember earlier today or some other time this week. Just let anything related to that scenario come forward. The substance perhaps that you were using, or the food, the surfing that you were doing. And just open to what it is that's coming forward and the details that are arising with the utmost gentleness, the utmost kindness. Things tend to go back into hiding when we're harsh. So we want to find that place that is truly interested in getting to know this pattern. And as you call it to mind and as more details arise, probably you'll also notice some kind of something bubbling underneath the surface. Could be tension, it could be emotion, it could be sensation. So whatever is showing up in the sensory world, allow it to be, and just notice what part of your body is most activated. And maybe your mind is able to label the feeling that might have triggered this behavior. Maybe it becomes more clear to you, or maybe it was clear to you at the time as you practiced this week. But we're going to do this together, because sometimes more layers and more understanding can reveal itself to us as we practice together. And as our shared field encourages a greater light in our presence. So we're noticing something arising in the body. There's something that came up this week, and we're calling it forward now, that put us in maybe that's not the right way of putting it, something that arose this week that just seemed to, and usually kind of sneaks up to us. And suddenly we find ourselves thinking about doing something or actually doing that thing. And usually when we are in an addictive behavior, there's a feeling of being torn inside, like something is saying, I shouldn't be doing this. And yet there's something deeper, almost like you can't really even touch it, maybe, or identify it at the time, that feels more compelling. But there'll always be this sense of a battle or a struggle or a conflicted state within you. And so maybe you're noticing that now. Something wants to do it, something doesn't want to do it. And so we'll let that state be here. Just allow that state of conflict and notice where that is taking place in your system. Kind of a push-pull. We're opening to that. And I encourage you, if you've identified a particular emotion and your mind has labeled it, that's a perfectly good place to start. But I encourage you to drop the label, to just strip that off, because oftentimes the label itself is so charged that it prevents us from bringing sufficient curiosity. So as you strip the label off, the question is, okay, I know what this feeling is called, or what I call it, but how does it feel in my body? Where does it live? What are the qualities associated with it? Is it moving? Is it still? Is it heavy? Is it swirling? Is it tight? And just let your awareness inhabit the area. So rather than looking at it from the top down, you can ride an imaginary elevator down to the spot where it lives and see if you can kind of nestle in there a little bit. And you don't have to go right in if that feels intimidating. You can just kind of go as close as feels comfortable for now. And then it will draw you in as there's a readiness for that. And oftentimes, once we touch into the first layer of feeling or emotion or energy, it will soon begin to shift and maybe soften and move somewhere else. And so let it do that. We are mere spectators here to this great intelligence that is unwinding, because it wants us to find the treasure. It wants us to release any energies that aren't serving us. So we're just kind of resting as presence and noticing this process happening all on its own. So where is the energy? Where are you drawn to the energy in your body or the sensation in your body right now? And as you open to it, allow tears to flow if that happens. Allow any feelings to come forward. Feel free to move your body a little bit if you need to. So you don't have to be absolutely still when you do this. So we're just leaning back, withdrawing into the eyes of presence and just noticing what is unfolding here. And maybe other impressions come forward as you be with this process. Maybe memories come up, new layers of emotion and feeling, unexpected ones. And then you open to that. So it's like a book that just keeps opening to you, for you, opening to the next page. And it does so on its own, and it just shows you what's next. Maybe images arise or a sense of understanding. And so from this place now, just notice if the appeal of that behavior or substance feels as strong, as magnetic. Or maybe there's a little bit more distance, a little bit more clarity. Once we have found the capacity in ourselves to be with the emotions that are triggering the behavior, then the behavior becomes not so necessary, or maybe not necessary at all. And so just let go of that, and let's just spend a few minutes just resting as presence. So in meditation, there's this process of inquiry, which is what we just did, kind of exploring the inner realm. And then it's also important to spend time just being presence, just resting as that, so that the meditation isn't always so active, and also so that we get the opportunity to receive the nourishment of presence. If you lose contact with the sense of presence, just be with your breath. Just come back to your breath and allow it to rise and fall within your awareness. Okay, great.